So if you've spent like any time online or scrolling social media, maybe even just browsing self-help books, you've definitely seen it.
Oh, yeah.
Phrases like good vibes only or this whole idea of raising your vibration, it seems like it's absolutely everywhere.
It really does.
And, on the surface, it sounds pretty simple. But today, we're doing a proper deep dive into this concept,
Right.
raising your vibrational frequency. Well, it's a really fascinating mix of ideas.
It absolutely is. I mean, at its most basic, most accessible level, vibration is often just a metaphor, right, for your mood, how you're feeling subjectively, basically trying to cultivate positive emotions.
Right. Feeling good.
Exactly. But for a lot of people who really get into this, the idea goes way, way deeper. They're actually saying that everything, literally everything objects us, even our thoughts, is fundamentally energy.
Energy that's vibrating.
Precisely. Vibrating at a specific frequency. Right. And some believe you can even measure that frequency.
Mhm.
So in this more literal metaphysical view, raising your vibration isn't just about cheering up.
Mm.
No, it's seen as like a fundamental change in your actual being. The whole point is to attract positive experiences, positive things, based on this idea of like attracts like.
Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We're going to try and unpack this whole thing, really deconstruct it with some proper analysis. We'll trace where it came from, this complex history, look at how people actually use it, and this is key, really evaluate how it stacks up against, established science.
Yeah, the science part is crucial.
Exactly. The goal is you walk away understanding how to tell the difference between, say, real biophysics, maybe some interesting emerging therapies, and, well, stuff that's pretty clearly pseudoscience.
A necessary skill these days.
Definitely. So for you, when you first dig into vibration in this context, what's the first thing that really jumps out?
Well, honestly, it's that duality you just mentioned, that it can be both things at once.
That gunality. Yeah, it's a really interesting starting point. So where do we begin unpicking that? Is vibration just a feeling, or is there, like, a whole system built around it?
Okay, let's start with the feeling part, the metaphorical sense, because that's probably more familiar.
Good idea.
So in that interpretation, a high vibration basically just means positive emotions. Love, joy, feeling grateful. When you feel those things, you usually feel energetic, right? Kind of light, cheerful.
Makes sense.
And conversely, low vibration lines up with the negative stuff.
Right.
Anxiety, anger, fear, jealousy. Those feelings often described as like heavy or draining.
So your feelings are kind of a gauge.
Exactly. Like an internal frequency barometer. You can just check in, how am I feeling right now? And that tells you your supposed vibrational state.
Okay, simple enough. But then, here's where it gets, well, a lot more complex and maybe more compelling for some people. It goes beyond metaphor.
Right. It extends into this literal metaphysical framework. Proponents will argue that all matter, fundamentally, is energy vibrating.
And they often link this to science, right? Like Einstein.
Yeah, figures like Einstein often get mentioned because his work showed the energetic nature of matter, EMC and all that.
Yeah.
So the idea gets extrapolated.
Yeah.
Everything, physical things, thoughts, emotions, consciousness itself, is vibrating at a particular frequency.
It's a frequency that theoretically you could measure.
In theory, yes, according to this framework.
Wow. Okay.
This is where it plugs directly into that like attracts like idea, the law of attraction.
Okay. Connect those dots.
The core principle is,
Mm-hmm.
if you consistently vibrate at a high frequency, let's say, love and joy, you are believed to literally attract loving people, joyful situations into your life.
On the flip side.
A low frequency, like fear or anger, is said to attract negative circumstances that match that vibration.
Does that raise questions about what high and low even mean? Is it consistent?
That's a really sharp point. There is some ambiguity. Some describe it in terms of speed. Faster vibrations are higher, slower, or stagnant ones are lower. Others talk about harmony. Like a well-tuned orchestra is high vibration, discord is low. But then some tricks point out something interesting from physics.
What's that?
Well, in physics, sometimes lower frequency waves, like radio waves, can actually be more powerful or travel further than high-frequency ones, which kind of contradicts the simple higher is always better idea in the metaphysical model.
That's a neat little contradiction. Now, it's easy to think these ideas are brand new, like new age inventions, but these life force concepts, they have older roots, don't they?
Oh, absolutely. The phrasing spiritual vibration is relatively modern, yeah, but the core idea of a fundamental life force, that connects back to much older traditions, especially from the East.
Like what?
Well, think about prana in the Hindu and yogic traditions.
Right. Prana.
In Sanskrit, it means life force or vital energy, and it's really closely linked to breath. How much prana you have is thought to directly reflect your emotional and energetic state. Low prana, negative feelings. High prana, positive feelings.
And how do you, like, increase it?
Through practices like pranayama, that's controlled breathing, also yoga, meditation. This energy is said to flow through subtle channels called nadis, and these energy centers, the chakras.
Okay, prana. What else?
Then you've got qi, or qi, from Taoism and traditional Chinese medicine.
Yeah, heard of that.
It's the vital life energy believed to circulate through your body, but also through the entire universe. Sometimes it's even described almost like an electromagnetic force.
And disease.
An imbalance or a blockage in the flow of qi. It flows through specific pathways called meridians. And practices like qigong, tai chi, acupuncture, those were developed specifically to cultivate and balance your qi.
So, okay, prana, qi, distinct systems, rich histories. But how did we get from that to the modern idea of vibration, especially in terms of, like, why people use it?
That's a really key distinction to make.
Yeah.
Prana and qi are fundamentally holistic. They're about finding balance and harmony within a larger context, cosmological, physiological.
Right, part of a bigger picture.
Exactly. The modern vibration concept, though,
Yeah.
it often takes a much more, well, individualistic approach,
Yeah.
almost mechanistic sometimes. And it's very often overtly goal-oriented.
Goal-oriented how?
It's frequently tied directly to the law of attraction for manifesting personal desires. Manifesting wealth or a partner or success.
Ah.
So it kind of reframes this spiritual path, which was traditionally about harmonizing with nature or the divine, into something more like manipulating a universal law for personal gain.
That sounds like a pretty significant shift.
It is, and it reflects a broader trend, especially in modern Western spirituality, towards individualism and, self-creation.
That's a huge shift. Okay, let's trace the more direct line then. Where did this specific modern vibration idea really take root in the West?
What's really striking is how these movements deliberately use scientific-sounding language. It made the ideas feel more legitimate, more authoritative, especially as science was becoming so dominant.
So where does that start?
Well, you can trace philosophical threads back to things like Hermeticism from Greco-Roman Egypt. Ideas popularized much later, like in the book The Kabbalion around 1920. It talks about the principle of vibration.
Which says?
Nothing rests, everything moves, everything vibrates. Basically, the differences in matter, energy, mind, spirit, they're all just due to different rates of vibration. And crucially, it suggested thoughts and emotions have frequencies, which allows for mental transmutation.
Changing your thoughts changes your vibration.
Bingo. Then these old ideas got a massive revival in the 19th century. People were fascinated by new science, electricity, radio waves, invisible forces.
Right.
Enter the Theosophical Society, founded 1875. Figures like Helena Blavatsky, hugely influential. They blended Western esotericism with Eastern ideas, teaching the cosmos was this matrix of sound and light vibrations.
And they connected thoughts to vibration, too.
Explicitly. People like Annie Besant and C.W. Leadbeater, in their 1905 book, Thought Forms, described thoughts creating radiating vibrations that attract similar vibrations. That's a crystal clear precursor to the law of attraction.
Wow, 1905. Okay.
Then came the New Thought movement, late 19th, early 20th century. It kind of simplified and popularized theosophy for a wider audience, focusing on practical results, healing, success.
Making it more accessible.
Exactly. Thinkers like Napoleon Hill were key here, really hammering home the idea that your mind's vibrations could shape your reality. This cemented the link between the law of vibration and the law of attraction for the masses.
So if we step back, this idea of spiritual vibration, it's not really some timeless ancient wisdom passed down untouched, is it? It sounds more like a modern construction.
That's exactly right. It emerged from a very specific time, the 19th century, an era the sociologist Max Weber called the disenchantment of the world, because science seemed to be explaining everything.
So paradoxically, science almost fueled these movements.
In a way, yes. The new scientific discoveries, especially around invisible forces like electromagnetism, provided a brand new vocabulary for re-enchantment. Movements like Theosophy and New Thought didn't really oppose science. They claimed to be a higher science, dealing with subtle energies.
Ah, using the language of science.
Precisely. By adopting terms like vibration, frequency, force fields, they gave their esoteric ideas a kind of veneer of scientific legitimacy. It made mysticism sound more plausible, more authoritative in an age obsessed with science.
That makes a lot of sense. Okay, fascinating history. Now that we get the framework and its roots, how do people actually apply this vibrational concept day to day, especially with the law of attraction?
Well, the basic principle sounds really simple. The law of attraction hinges on the law of vibration. Like attracts like. The
Oh.
core idea is that everything, every person, thought, feeling sends out a specific vibrational signal. And the universe, supposedly, lines up signals that match.
So good thoughts, good feelings.
Mean you're in a high vibrational state. And that state is believed to attract people, situations, even objects that resonate at that same high frequency.
But it's not just thinking happy thoughts, is it? I feel like there's always a bigger emphasis on emotion.
Absolutely critical. Teachers who are really influential in this space, like Esther and Jerry Hicks, for example, stress that the emotional state is the real indicator of your vibration.
Not just the thought itself.
Right. A thought without the feeling behind it supposedly lacks power. The real key is to generate the feeling of what you desire.
Can you give an example?
Sure. Like, instead of just visualizing a new car, you'd focus intensely on the feeling that car gives you freedom, maybe, or abundance, security. By generating and holding that feeling, you're supposedly tuning your energy field to match it, allowing the physical car to manifest.
Okay, so if someone's trying to manifest something, what are the main ingredients they're told they need?
There are a few key parts. First, you need really clear intention. What do you actually want? And you need passionate desire for it.
Okay, clarity and passion.
Second, vivid visualization. Really picturing it, but crucially, infusing that picture with strong positive emotions. The feeling is the amplifier.
Got it. Visualization with feeling.
And then, this is maybe the trickiest part. Faith. After you've set that clear, emotionally charged intention, you have to let go. Trust the universe to handle the delivery, the how, and the when.
That letting go part
Mm-hmm.
sounds like a potential sticking point. The whole thing seems to have this built-in tension, almost a paradox.
It really does. That's one of the most psychologically interesting parts. The doctrine tells you, on one hand, you have this immense total power to create your reality, huge responsibility.
Right.
But then it also demands this crucial step of surrender. You have to have faith and let go. Trust this process you can't fully control. It's a real bind.
Right, if things don't manifest?
Well, the framework has built-in explanations that are basically unfalsifiable. Maybe your frequency wasn't high enough. Maybe you didn't have enough passion, enough faith. Or maybe it's just not the universe's timing yet.
So it's always kind of your fault. Or just not yet. Essentially, yes. It creates this psychologically powerful, closed loop. Successes prove the system works. Failures, they're chalked up to the practitioner's shortcomings, which protects the core beliefs.
That's clever in a way. Okay, so putting aside the manifesting for a second, what are the actual, everyday things people do to raise their vibration?
The methods are pretty diverse, but they generally fall into two main camps. First, you've got internal practices, things focused on your mind and emotions.
Like meditation.
Exactly. Meditation, prayer, conscious breathing like pranayama, these are all seen as ways to quiet the mind, release negativity, and kind of tune into well-being. Also, intentionally cultivating gratitude and positive thinking.
Gratitude journals, affirmations, that kind of thing.
Yep. Shifting focus from what you lack to what you have. Mindfulness, just being present, fits here too. Reducing stress, finding peace.
Okay, internal stuff. What's the other category?
External and lifestyle adjustments. This covers things like diet and exercise. The idea is that healthy light foods are high vibration, while processed stuff makes you feel sluggish or low vibration.
And exercise.
Boosts mood, endorphins, definitely seen as vibration raising. Connecting with nature is big too, sometimes called earthing or grounding.
Walking barefoot on the grass.
That kind of thing.
Yeah.
Supposedly charges you with Earth's energy. And finally, what you might call environmental hygiene. Surrounding yourself with positive people. Your vibe attracts your tribe.
Right.
And also energetically cleansing your space, maybe using sage smudging or something similar.
Okay, so it covers a lot of ground. What are the big benefits people are hoping for when they live this high vibration life?
The list is pretty long and holistic. People talk about having more positive energy, just feeling better, less stress, less anxiety.
Mental benefits too.
Yeah, greater clarity, better focus, even heightened intuition. Spiritually, it's about feeling more connected to yourself, to the universe. And physically, it's often linked to better health, more vitality.
And these inner shifts lead to outer changes.
That's the idea. Better relationships, attracting opportunities, just living a more fulfilling life overall.
It all sounds, well, pretty good. Almost universally positive. Is there a simpler explanation, though, for why doing these things might make people feel better, even without the whole vibration framework?
That is an excellent point, and the answer is almost certainly yes. What's really striking is that nearly all the recommended techniques, they're well-established wellness practices with proven secular benefits.
Such as?
Well, meditation demonstrably increases alpha brain waves that's linked to calm relaxation. Practicing gratitude has been shown to reduce cortisol, the stress hormone.
Ah, okay.
So the vibrational framework doesn't really offer a new mechanism that we can test. It acts more like a spiritual overlay. It provides this unifying story, this motivation.
So it makes mundane things feel more meaningful.
Exactly. Meditating isn't just relaxing, it becomes a cosmic act of aligning. Eating healthy isn't just good for your body, it increases your cell vibration. It turns a basic health routine into something that feels like a profound spiritual quest.
Right, adding that layer of meaning. Okay, let's shift gears into the critical evaluation now. Trying to separate the fact from the fiction. Some systems actually claim to measure these vibrations scientifically. What about Dr. David R. Hawkins and his map of consciousness?
Ah, yes, the map of consciousness. This is a really prominent example, and honestly, it's a perfect case study in how pseudoscience gets woven into this field.
Okay, break it down for us. What is it?
Hawkins created this scale, it's logarithmic, from 1 to 1,000, and he claimed it could calibrate the energetic frequency of pretty much anything, emotions, ideas, books, people, you name it.
He put numbers on feelings.
Essentially, yes. He split it into force levels below 200, things like shame at 20, fear at 100, anger at 150. He said these were life-depleting.
And above 200?
That was power. Things like courage at 200, reason at 400, love at 500, peace way up at 600. These were supposedly life-affirming. He made some pretty wild claims, too.
Like what?
Like saying 85% of the world calibrates below 200. Or that one person vibrating at love 500 could energetically counterbalance 750,000 people stuck below 200.
Wow. Okay, so how did he get these numbers? What was the method?
And this is the absolute crux of the issue. His entire system was based on applied kinesiology, or AK, muscle testing.
Muscle testing. Explain that.
He claimed over 250,000 calibrations using it. The technique usually involves someone holding out their arm, and the tester applies pressure while introducing a stimulus, maybe a statement or an object. If the stimulus is supposedly true or positive, the muscle stays strong. If it's false or negative, the muscle goes weak.
And Hawkins claimed this was infallible.
He presented it as the body's unerring truth detector. But here's the problem. The scientific community overwhelmingly views applied kinesiology as pseudoscience, because rigorous double-blind studies consistently show its results are totally unreliable. No better than chance, basically. Major medical bodies reject it. The outcomes are hugely influenced by the practitioner's expectations and subtle cues and the subject's own beliefs. It's called the ideomotor effect.
So the foundation of the map is shaky.
It's not just shaky, it's demonstrably invalid according to scientific standards. Because the whole map of consciousness was built using AK, the map itself has zero empirical basis. The numbers are arbitrary. You can't verify them objectively.
And there are other criticisms.
Yeah. Many calibrations seem to just reflect Hawkins' own personal biases, like which religious figures scored high versus low. It looks precise, like a scientific chart, gives people a kind of spiritual report card, but that feeling of certainty is built on sand.
That's a really clear takedown. It highlights how easily this whole concept can blur the lines between real physics and claims that just sound scientific. How can listeners tell the difference?
Yeah, it's crucial to draw a really clear line here. So the physics of vibration, that's a real thing. It's well-defined. It's measurable. It's about the mechanical oscillation of matter, a guitar string moving, atoms jiggling because of heat. It's fundamental. It's empirically verified science.
Right. Actual physical movement.
Exactly. Now, the metaphysics of vibration, that takes the language of physics, words like frequency, units like hertz, and applies it to things that are not physical, like thoughts, emotions, consciousness.
But without the measurement part.
Exactly. Without empirical evidence, without any testable mechanism showing how a thought could have a frequency in hertz. It's what philosophers call a category error. Using terms from one domain, measurable physics, in a completely different domain, subjective experience, where they don't logically or empirically fit.
So it just borrows the authority of science without doing the scientific work.
That's a great way to put it. It lends this false air of scientific credibility to what are essentially philosophical or faith-based claims.
Okay, very clear distinction. But are there any legitimate scientific uses of actual physical vibration in health or wellness?
Oh, absolutely. And it's important to know these exist and are distinct. For example, there's whole body vibration therapy, or WBV.
That's the vibrating platform thing.
Yep, you stand or do exercises on it.
Yeah.
Research shows it can have potential benefits for things like muscle strength, balance, mobility, especially for older adults or people with conditions like Parkinson's or osteoporosis.
Okay, so that's mechanical vibration.
Correct. Then there's pulsed electromagnetic field therapy, PEMF. This uses low-frequency electromagnetic waves. Importantly, not mechanical vibration.
And what's that used for?
It's aimed at stimulating cells to help with healing. There are FDA-approved PEMF devices for specific things, like helping bone fractures heal when they're not knitting properly, or reducing swelling after surgery.
Interesting. Anything else?
Well, at a really fundamental level, there's the biophysics of cellular vibration. Scientists know that molecules like proteins, and even whole cells, have characteristic resonant frequencies. These vibrations are actually essential for basic biological functions. Proteins binding together, cells communicating, DNA getting copied.
So cells do vibrate in a literal physical sense.
Yes, but this is hardcore biophysics, a totally separate field from the spiritual idea that your thoughts have a measurable frequency that attracts things.
Got it. Okay, so where do things like sound baths fit in? Or tuning forks? They seem kind of in the middle.
Yeah, they definitely fall into more of a gray area.
Yeah.
You could call them emerging or, in some cases, unverified therapies. Therapies of sound baths, tuning forks, specific frequencies like solfeggio tones. It has ancient roots, but it's having a real moment now.
Is there any science behind it?
There is some emerging evidence that sound can have measurable effects on the body. Things like reducing feelings of tension, anger, fatigue. Some studies suggest it might increase nitric oxide, which is good for circulation.
How would that work?
The proposed mechanisms are usually things like resonance, the body's tissues responding to the sound waves, and brainwave entrainment.
Brainwave entrainment.
Yeah, the idea that your brain's electrical rhythms can actually synchronize with external rhythmic sounds.
Okay, so some plausible effects, but what about the bigger claims?
Right. The more extraordinary claims, like a specific frequency, say 528 hertz repairing DNA, or another one, awakening your pineal gland, those generally lack rigorous peer-reviewed scientific support beyond just inducing relaxation.
So a lot of it might just be feeling relaxed.
Exactly. We can't underestimate the placebo effect and the power of psychology here. If you're lying in a calm space, listening to soothing sounds, and you expect to feel better, you probably will. That doesn't mean the specific frequency did something magical, but the overall experience was beneficial.
Okay, that makes sense. So if a lot of the metaphysical claims are shaky, leaning towards pseudoscience, why do people feel so much better when they do these vibration-raising practices? What's actually happening inside them scientifically that creates that feeling?
Now we get to the really solid science. Neuroscience gives us really powerful, evidence-based explanations for why these practices work, regardless of the metaphysical overlay.
Okay, like what?
One huge factor is neuroplasticity. This is just the brain's amazing ability to change and reorganize itself based on experience.
How does that apply here?
Well, when you consistently practice generating positive thoughts, or do things like meditation or gratitude exercises, you are literally strengthening certain neural pathways, especially in your prefrontal cortex, which manages emotional regulation.
So you're training your brain to be more positive.
You really are. Over time, it physically changes your brain, making those positive emotional states easier to access, more habitual. And the reverse is true, too. Dwelling on negativity can strengthen anxiety or depression pathways.
Wow. Okay, neuroplasticity. What else?
Then there's the brain's pharmacy, our neurotransmitters. These practices directly impact your brain chemistry. When you feel good, your brain dials down stress hormones like cortisol.
And dials up.
The good stuff, like serotonin, the classic feel-good chemical. It helps regulate mood, promotes calm, focus. Then there's dopamine, key for reward, pleasure, motivation.
Yeah.
And endorphins, the body's natural opiates. You get that rush during exercise, right? The euphoria.
Right.
These biochemical shifts directly explain why you feel lighter, more joyful, more energetic, that feeling people call high vibration. It's real chemistry.
Okay, brain structure, brain chemistry, anything else?
Yes, brain waves. We know different states of consciousness correspond to different patterns of electrical activity in the brain, measured in hertz.
Like alpha wave.
Exactly. Alpha waves, around 8-12 hertz, are linked to calm, relaxed alertness. Meditation, deep breathing, they boost alpha activity. That's associated with less stress, more serotonin.
And other waves.
Theta waves, 4 to 8 hertz, are associated with deep relaxation, intuition, that state just before sleep. often linked to emotional insights. And remember brainwave entrainment we mentioned with sound therapy.
Yeah, the brain syncing up.
Right. The brain's tendency to synchronize its frequency with external rhythms like pulsing sounds or lights. This provides a very plausible neuroscientific reason why things like sound baths or binaural beats can gently guide your brain towards relaxation or other desired states.
This is fascinating. So the science actually backs up why the practices work, even if the whole vibrational frequency explanation itself isn't literally scientifically true. Is that the core paradox here?
I think that's exactly it. You can see the vibration framework as a kind of culturally resonant, user-friendly operating system. It's a way to interact with and influence your brain's own incredibly complex hardware and software for well-being.
An operating system for feeling good.
Pretty much. The actions it tells you to take, meditate, be grateful, focus positively, they directly correlate with measurable positive changes in your brain structure, your brain chemistry, your brain wave activity, the vibrational language itself. It's a powerful way to reframe things cognitively.
So you don't actually need to believe thoughts have hertz to get the benefits.
Not at all. You don't need to accept the literal existence of metaphysical vibrations to understand why the practices often work. It's just a highly effective way to improve your internal neurobiological reality.
Okay, let's try and bring this whole deep dive together then. Vibrational frequency raising. It's clearly this really layered thing. It seems to beautifully weave together spiritual hopes, psychological insights, and even the language of science into this compelling modern way of thinking.
It really does. And what's so interesting is that at its core, the basic idea of positive emotions feel high, negative ones feel low, it works. It's an intuitive, powerful model for just being aware of your own emotional state. And like we've seen, the actual practices everyone recommends for raising your vibration, meditation, gratitude, exercise, mindfulness, they mostly line up perfectly with activities that we know have real neurological and psychological benefits.
The narrative just gives them extra punch.
Right. That vibrational story provides this unifying spiritual purpose that can be incredibly motivating for people. Much more motivating, perhaps, than just saying meditation is good for stress.
That's a key point. However, when that framework steps beyond being a useful metaphor, when it starts making literal, measurable, scientific-sounding claims,
that's where, pretty consistently, we step into pseudoscience, taking words like frequency or hertz and applying them to thoughts or feelings.
Yep.
It's that category error again. It gives this misleading scientific shine to things that haven't earned it scientifically.
Okay, so for you listening, navigating this complex landscape, how can you approach this thoughtfully?
It raises really important questions. I think there are a few key takeaways. First, appreciate the metaphor. Recognize that vibration can be a really useful, accessible way to think about your mood, your emotional intelligence, your subjective experience. Just noticing, I feel low, and deciding to do something to feel higher, that's valid self-care.
Good starting point. What's next?
Second, question the metaphysics. Bring your critical thinking A-game to any claim that tries to quantify spiritual or emotional states with precise scientific terms. Be skeptical when someone says thoughts have measurable frequencies in hertz, or a specific musical tone can literally repair DNA unless they show extraordinary peer-reviewed evidence.
Healthy skepticism. Okay.
Third, separate the practice from the premise. This is huge. You can absolutely embrace a practice because it benefits you, while remaining skeptical of the metaphysical reason why some people say it works. Meditate because it reduces your stress, not because you have to believe it's cleansing your aura.
You can take what works.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And finally, fourth, prioritize evidence-based approaches. When it comes to your actual physical and mental health, rely on therapies and advice that have solid scientific backing. Many vibrational practices are harmless, even beneficial as complementary tools, but they should never replace conventional medical care for serious health issues.
That's incredibly important advice. Ultimately, this whole deep dive really shines a light on, well, the enduring human quest for meaning, doesn't it? For purpose, for feeling like we have some control over our lives.
It really does.
It makes you think about how incredibly creative we are at weaving together bits of ancient wisdom with the language of modern science to build these new, compelling stories about who we are and how the world works.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. If this vibrational framework can act as such an effective operating system for our internal neurobiological reality, even if it's not literally true, what other powerful, culturally resonant narratives might be shaping our beliefs, our actions, in similar ways we don't even notice?